Replacement property is one of the hardest things that I do as a broker.
Right.
And so we have softwares that are
Mhm.
connected to other commercial brokers. I got 3 emails in this morning. I have an exchanger, we're against the deadline, we need whatever the parameters were. So as a listing agent, if I have something like that, I can reach right back out.
Right. Mhm.
Additionally, my client coming in this week, I've sent out 3 of those in the
Mhm.
last 7 days. I've gotten 4 potential properties to start a review on.
Right.
So,
You should link up with our system too, because my coordinators, they have exchangers that a lot of times, especially in the reverse department, that are trying to sell their properties even before they're marketed.
yeah.
And it might be something that we can cross-reference some of those
Great.
properties.
It's all about connections, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Increase your monthly, don't call me on what list of properties though, because I usually just kind of educate and take the orders in, and then I have my people that do the paperwork shuffling back and forth. So they're the ones that would have the list on it, but I can definitely coordinate with that. So this is just going over, we all know this, that my example, that $1 million, and then they can buy $3 million or versus $2 million if they didn't do a 1031 exchange. That's just going to increase their monthly cash flow, increase depreciation deductions, increase your assets, and that's all done through a 1031 exchange. So working with investors, we all know that they're better than working with first-time home buyers because, I shouldn't say better, but they're not emotional. Investors sometimes will, if the numbers look good on paper, they don't even have to see the property. They'll close and sell on the property if the numbers look good. They're all looking for that bottom line. So they're a lot easier to work with. And working with investors, again, you guys know that, break-even cash flow. These are things that are important for investors. And like Linda says, finding properties for the replacement, that's definitely an asset. Rental approach owners, owner-occupied. These are just some properties that you could go for. I mean, you can work with a title company. You can get a list of all the out-of-state or foreign investors that own properties and market them. I know in my neighborhood, my next-door neighbor is Canadian, and his renter just moved out, and he's of ill health right now, so I don't know what he's going to do with his property, but he might either sell it or hang on to it, I'm not sure, but he doesn't have a mortgage or anything on it. So those type of things, you can get that from the title companies. Process of a 1031 exchange, there are only 4 things to remember. Find a buyer for your investment property, get the agreement under contract, put the contract into escrow, contact your QI to set up the exchange prior to the sale. Because I get that call every single month. Like, it's okay to call me at the 11th hour and put an exchange together, but if you call me on the 12th hour after it closed, even if you haven't picked up the check, it's already taxable. It's constructed closing, it's not going to qualify for a 1031 exchange. Normally the first week of the new month I get those calls that they just closed last month and they want now to do an exchange. So far this month I haven't got one, but those are the hardest calls to take because they don't qualify for it. And then they're gonna, as soon as they talk to me and say they don't qualify, the next person they're gonna call is their agent and everybody else involved in the transaction why they didn't tell them that they had to set up a 1031 exchange prior.
We had a closing last month where they elected to go with the 1031 exchange. I think they used you guys.
Right.
And after closing, then he's like, well, now do I really want to do the exchange or not? And he went back and forth for 2 weeks.
Right.
But he had signed the paperwork, that the money was already at the exchange, or at the company.
Right.
So I believe he elected to go forward.
Right. That's the other thing is here too, guys. You can set up an exchange with us. It costs absolutely nothing. I don't get paid unless that property goes to close of escrow. So to set it up is always a good thing to have an exchange set up. And we get the agreement over to your title company. If you go into closing, you decide that you don't want to do the exchange and rip up the exchange agreement, we don't get paid. It doesn't cost you anything. So it's always better to, as soon as you know it's going to be a 1031 exchange, to get it set up sooner than later.
Can we touch on one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
How about unsolicited offers for an investment property to use in exchanges?
Yeah, I mean the fix and flip, that comes up a lot with the fix and flip properties.
I'm not even asking
no,
that.
No, just no, in general. It's for a fix and flip though, not to say that because that's the easiest way to explain it. They will buy a property and it doesn't qualify because they don't, here's the rule on that, because if you buy a fix and flip property, you have a year plus 1 day, which is not written anywhere, that's just what most CPAs will tell you, that you have to hang on to that property. to qualify for a 1031 exchange. But like Linda said, if you bought that property, your intention was that you're initially going to fix it up and just sell it, but you started working on it, and across the street someone came up to you and approached you and gave you an unsolicited offer to purchase that property for more than what you bought it for, and they like the work you're doing on it. That's an unsolicited offer which you can now qualify to do a 1031 exchange prior to the year plus 1 day. So that's the way to kind of well, it is a written rule, but that's one only way that you could sell a property to do a 1031 exchange prior to the 1 year plus 1 day. You have to hold it for at least that when you're buying a property.
We've had people that have bought it though,
Uh-huh.
fully intending to
Uh-huh.
keep it as a rental property.
Right.
We're in a hot market, somebody even calls me as their broker.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not listed, it's not advertised, they say, hey, we'd like to buy that property.
Right.
I contact the owner
Mhm.
and say, hey, you know, Mike, I've got an offer on your property, you wanna look at it?
Right.
Okay. And we have used 1031 exchange on those.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and those, it's, the thing is with the 1031 exchange is that the IRS is just going to look for what your intent is. And so if your intent is that, and it can be documented, it's going to be okay for us that we'll handle the exchange, or the 1031 exchange for you. So you're the one that's going to have to, if the IRS ever comes back to you and asks you questions or challenges your exchange, you're going to have that information to back yourself up. And that's if you get audited. If you don't get audited, you never have to have that. But you want to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row, like Linda was saying, just in case that happens, that you get audited down the line.
So in the case when I have that, I actually send an email along with a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Mike, I've just received an unsolicited offer on your investment property. What do you think?
Right, right. Yeah, it happens all the time.
And keep that email.
Right. It's a hot market. You'll get a lot more of those. And that's what we'd have to do, is just keep that email as your record. And this is what my intent was, but it changed because it made more financial sense to sell. So,
And of course, here's Mike's next. What am I going to buy with the replacement?
right,
It's
exactly.
always the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's all I have. I mean, it does get a lot more detail as far as exchanges, reverses, and then there's built-to-suits.
Yeah.
There's a ton of different information. This is just kind of giving you the basic. I don't want to overwhelm you with too much
Rick, I
information.
really want to
Yeah.
thank you for
Yeah.
today.
Thank you.
What I would like to do, maybe the next time, let's
Mhm.
talk about build-to-suits, because I think that's really something
Absolutely.
that we need to learn
Yeah.
more about.
Perfect.
Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Rick. Good.
Okay. Yeah, if you guys have any other questions,